Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So I wanted to just come on this morning and just do a little, can't call it an update really, or a reminder about Gus Lamont. So as we come into 2026, and Happy New Year, by the way, to everybody. If you haven't seen me yet in 2026, Happy New Year. Thank you for all your support through 2025. And this case we're going to talk about today, Little Gus. We're going to follow this case through 2026. Hopefully we won't have to follow it for much longer. Hopefully there will be some resolution in this case, but I wanted to just talk about it because I want people to know that all the things that I've talked about 2025, the cases that I've started off with, I will be continuing with. And every now and again, even if there is no news, there's something we can say about Gus. Keep Gus's face out there, his name out there. We can't, it's difficult to hope for a happy resolution in this case, but there is always hope, I suppose. So this is what we're going to be talking about. Gus Lamont, this little boy who went missing in Australia. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for liking, for subscribing. Remember to always press notifications, and then you'll get updates. You get notification of any updates. Special thank you to my members, the mainstay of my channel. Thank you so much to the members. Thank you to all you very kind people that have bought me Ko-fis, sent super stickers, PayPal'd me over the Christmas and New Year period. It's been very, just heartwarming to see that people enjoy watching my channel. And also it's helped me out more than you can know. What else? So yeah, thank you to all of you who send me emails about cases or just generally to let me know how you are. Thank you to everyone who supports my channel in any positive way. Thank you. Okay, so as we go into this then, I'm going to be saying hello to you lovely lurkers out there. Hello to replay crew. Thank you for caring about Gus, all of you. And now I'm coming into the chat. There's a couple of people in the chat. Let's have a look who's brave enough to put their head above the parapet. Hi, David. Hi, Tracy. Don't be scared to come into the chat. My chatters are very polite. We don't attack each other. So there's a couple of simple rules in the chat. It's just really not mentioning other YouTube channels. Not for any bad reason. It's just... it just causes problems somewhere along the line. And then I have to, I feel like I have to sort of mention them, and I don't like mentioning YouTube channels. Sometimes I do. If I'm using a YouTuber's video, maybe, to react to it, I have to mention them. I want to mention them. It's not that I don't like other YouTube channels. It's just I don't like the controversy sometimes because it's, one man's or woman's YouTube channel is another man or woman's poison. So, sometimes it can detract from the case that we're talking about because people end up talking about the YouTube channels instead. That's all. And just, be respectful. That's it. Everybody has an opinion, a view. If you don't agree with someone's opinion or view, you attack the argument, not the person. Just simple respect, really, to everyone in the chat, and me, of course. Yeah, don't be nasty to me because I might cry. Anyway, having said all that, we're going to have a look now at, as I say, not really an update. Gus hasn't been found. I just want us to spare a thought. This family of Gus, such a complicated family relationship, isn't it? And that's caused a lot of controversy. There's his mum and his dad who are still together but live separately, apparently. Gus lived on this remote sort of sheep station in Yonta in Australia. You can't get much more remote than where Gus lived. And the mum apparently lived there. And this is one of Gus's GMAs here on this photo. And of course, there's controversy there because Josie was born a man. It would have been at one point. Well, I don't think she ever was Gus's GPA because she transitioned many years ago. So she's always been Gus's GMA because Gus is only 4 years old. You know, so that's caused a lot of controversies. Gus has 2 GMAs living on the sheep station, Josie and Shannon. And whereas his dad, also his little brother, he has a little brother, I think his name's Archie, but I'm not sure actually, so I'm not sure about that. But his dad lives miles away, apparently was refurbishing a house ready for them to move into. He didn't like living at the sheep station. Rumours say he had controversies with Josie, and that, you know, but we don't know all those ins and outs really. What we do know is that Josie does have a temper, because when the Daily Mail reporter turned up, which must have been irritating because the Daily Mail reporter had been asked not to go to the homestead, but turned up at the homestead, and Josie came out with a shotgun, a pump action shotgun, and threatened her, you know, told her to go away quite aggressively. Later, Josie said that, and the police said that Josie had the gun. It was just coincidence. She had the gun in her hands because she was going to shoot a snake on the porch. You know, if you believe that. I mean, I don't think that's true. I think Josie did lose her temper. I don't necessarily blame her for losing her temper. You know, when reporters turn up when they've been specifically told not to, it must be annoying, to be honest. But of course, she didn't do herself any favours. It just encouraged people to think she was aggressive, and you know, even more likely that maybe she did something to Gus. So this all happened, I think it was September the 27th, when Gus was reported missing. He was apparently at the actual home where they lived, with his other GMA and his little brother, whereas Josie and Gus's mum had gone to the sheep station, the actual sheep shearing station part. I mean, it's a big sprawling property. And Gus apparently late in the evening, one Saturday evening, he was playing on a sand pile. His other grandma, Shannon, knew he was there. But when she went back half an hour later, which I still think is a long time to leave a 4-year-old unattended, you know, they're into everything, aren't they? You know, and especially a place like that where it looked like there was a lot of dangerous things around on that homestead. Anyway, that's maybe it's because they live somewhere so remote as that they didn't worry about anything happening to him. Anyway, she said when she went back out half an hour later, he was gone. And since then, not a trace has been found of this boy. Nothing, no clothes. There was one boot print, which always seems suspicious to me. I'm afraid to find one boot print. You know, how does that happen? Just one. You know, it's like how? But anyway, apparently one boot print has been found in the searches for this little boy. But he was wearing a little hat. Apparently, that's not been found. His shoes, his T-shirt, or anything. So, surely if he'd been attacked by an animal, there would be some trace left. You know, unless the animal just took him off to its lair, and the hat didn't fall off. It's so unlikely that anyone could get onto that property to actually kidnap Gus, but just like with the case of Jack and Lily Sullivan that I looked at yesterday, again, some, it's one of those cases where you hope that he has been kidnapped, really, because if he's been kidnapped, he may possibly be still alive. But if he's not been kidnapped, there's no way he's still alive on that sprawling property. Can't have survived all this time as a 4-year-old boy disappearing. On September the 27th, he would have been deceased probably within a couple of days. So there's been search after search after search, hasn't there? At least 3 searches. Nothing's been found. The army's been out there. The law enforcement are still saying there's no evidence of any foul play, but they checked mine shafts. They've checked sort of almost everything, but they haven't found him. So I'm presuming eventually searches will resume. I don't know, or are they exploring other avenues? But they're keeping their cards very close to their chest. If law enforcement have got any reason to suspect foul play, well, they're not telling us what it is, which is fair enough, isn't it? I don't know what sort of contact they've got with the family. We don't even know now are they all still living at that homestead? As the mother moved away with her other little boy. Can you imagine what Christmas must have been like, and New Year? Last Christmas, they would have had 2 little boys excitedly opening their presents, etc. If they celebrate Christmas, of course. I mean, I shouldn't really assume that they do. But in some way or another, they will celebrate Christmas and New Year, if not Christmas. And this year, of course, there's sort of Christmas has come and gone and New Year has come and gone with this dark shadow over them. Whatever has happened to Gus, even if the family have been complicit, which there's no evidence to suggest that they have been, it's only really Josie's sort of show of temper towards a reporter, and that felt funny. And then, of course, there is some talk that when was the last time that Gus was actually seen by anyone other than the family? Because when this little picture was taken, so in I think it was March, Gus was taken to get enrolled at preschool, and that's when apparently this picture was taken. And since then, there's been no photos released, for any time after this. And, when was that? One thing I would really like to know is, when was the last time Gus was seen by anyone outside of the family? Did he go missing on that date, on September the 27th, or had he been missing for ages? Thing is, it's so remote there. And I'm not saying that the family have had anything to do with that. I'm just saying, how are the police going to pin all this down? It seems an impossible task, really, doesn't it? When was this little cherub last seen by anyone outside of the family? Anyway, one thing we do know is he's disappeared now. We don't know what's happened to him. We don't know exactly when he disappeared. But what we do know for 100% certain is he's not he's not there now. He's somewhere, probably, and unfortunately, 90% certain that this boy is not on this planet anymore, bless him. So what I wanted to look at, there was an article by ABC, and that's what we're going to look at, talking about Gus, but also talk about thing about Australia is, more than perhaps any other country, or maybe Canada and America's similarities. So big, so vast, so hard to send out search parties, such vast, where Gus lived, it's so vast. It's quite, it's not woodland like where Jack and Lily disappeared from. It's scrubland, isn't it? So you'd think that drones would spot anything suspicious there. But of course, you know, Gus is a tiny 4-year-old. So that's not an easy body to spot. It's hard enough to spot an adult's body, isn't it, on these drones and things. You know, there's been lots of cases where bodies have taken ages to find. Adult bodies, you know, so a little body like Gus's. And as you say, Tracy, may have fallen down a hole, but they have explored the mine shafts, haven't they, now, and things. But yeah, I'm sure there's lots of places he could have fallen down. Hi, Daniel. But surely on these extensive searches they've done, they've looked everywhere they can. I don't know. You know, literally, we don't know, do we? What happened to Gus? It's literally as if he was just sort of vanished into thin air. But, you know, people can't do that, can they? But I do think it's complicated by the fact he's only a tiny child, you know, because makes it talk about looking for a needle in a haystack. That's even more so, isn't it, when you're just looking for a little person like Gus. So, you know, anyway, we're going to stick with this case. Sometimes things break. I hope to God it doesn't turn into one of those cases, which are quite common in Australia because of the size of Australia. And we're going to, so this article, I think it's ABC. Yeah, ABC, Australian News. Very interesting article, not only about Gus, but about other people that have disappeared and never been found, children in particular. So the story of missing 4-year-old boy Gus Lamont had a lasting impact on the South Australian community. And the law enforcement said this is a case of us making sure we leave no stone unturned. But, you know, very sadly, we've heard that quite often, haven't we, in cases of missing children, you know, the most famous of which, of course, Madeleine McCann. How many children, you know, we've got Sebastian Rogers still missing, Summer Wells in America. So many children still missing, and you just think, how can a child disappear? First of all, I mean, and there's loads more. You know, first of all, you think, how can they disappear? And then it's like, well, you know, why can't they be found? So in October, South Australia's Police Commissioner Grant Stevens said a desire to leave no stone unturned was at the heart of a renewed search for the 4-year-old boy who went missing from his family's outback station on September the 27th. So that was the last time they searched, in October. Was that when they did the... don't know if that's when they did the mine shafts, because they've just recently searched some mine shafts but didn't find anything. His disappearance sparked an extensive ground and air operation described by police as one of the largest, most intensive searches for a missing person conducted in South Australia in recent times. But despite 3 more searches at the isolated property 40 kilometres south of Yonta, there has been no trace of Gus. But one thing police have repeatedly said is that they have not uncovered any evidence of foul play. They previously said they suspected that Gus had wandered away from the property and said that his family had described him as a quiet but pretty adventurous child. It's a South Australian story from 2025 that has captivated the state and the nation and the world. You know, well, I'm covering it anyway. I mean, I don't know if other YouTubers, you know, crime content creators are covering Gus's case. I don't know about that, you know, internationally. But, you know, when you just look at this terrain, how that little boy, if he wandered off, you know, why have they not found him? Because although it's an extensive terrain, unless he has fallen down a hole, as you say, Tracy, or unless he has been abducted, you'd feel like they would find him. I mean, they've had dogs out there. It's the drones have gone over. Surely something over all these searches that they've done would have turned up. Sadly, it's a theme that could summarise a year of news for South Australians, a year of searching for answers with little to no results. From a renewed but fruitless dig for the missing Beaumont children to the end of a chapter in South Australia's notorious and heinous family murders, 2025 has held an air of mystery. Now, these are the Beaumont children. They disappeared quite a long time ago now, and there was talk this year. Well, there was a new dig was done, and they were hoping they were going to find the bodies of these children for some resolution for the family, but it was fruitless. As they say, they did not find these children went missing in 1966 and still have not been found. That's very sad, isn't it? How can 3 children disappear and not be found? It's like with Jack and Lily, it's unusual enough for one child to disappear, but for 2, like Jack and Lily Sullivan, or 3, like these poor things, very sad. Anyway, the search for Gus drew harrowing comparisons to the Beaumonts, who were last seen in the Adelaide beachside suburb of Glenelg almost 60 years ago. Goodness, we've had those other cases in the past, like the Beaumonts, that remain unsolved, and I think the memories of that live with South Australians. South Australian Police Minister Blair Boyer said last month when he was speaking about, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, Blair, it's a man's name, is it? But anyway, it doesn't matter. When speaking about Gus's disappearance. Coincidentally, it was only earlier this year that a new dig for the remains of the Beaumont children was conducted at the former Castalloy site in Adelaide's west. The private 7-day dig, led by MP Frank Pangallo, was the 3rd at the site, with searches also conducted in 2013 and 2018. Now, it's encouraging that they're still looking for these children, or someone's still looking for them. But the problem is, when you're digging for bodies, you could literally miss them by a centimetre, couldn't you? If you just... it's terrifying, really. They could be there, just exactly somewhere there, but they could have missed them just by a close margin. You just have to be lucky that you turn up. And then, of course, here we're not only looking for children, which are small, but there'll be skeletal remains too. And probably, don't mean to be gruesome, but with Gus, it'll be skeletal remains by now, won't it? So while it failed to unearth any signs of remains, Mr. Pangallo said he received significant information from extremely credible people. It's often said that life in Adelaide quickly changed when the Beaumont children went missing, with many parents feeling more fearful for their children's safety. Yeah, I do think that's true in most countries, isn't it? There'll be a significant case that changes the way parents, from years ago when, children did play out a lot. I mean, literally did play out all day. Nobody really bothered where they were. They never feared that anything was going to happen to them, because even as far as traffic and that was concerned, there weren't so many cars and things. So you didn't worry about them being run over. I was always out and about. I think we all were, people of my generation. But I remember, you remember iconic things. I remember the Yorkshire Ripper was when I remember Peter Sutcliffe, where it changed, where my parents said to me, I was a young teenager then, let's say I was probably 13. And I used to walk to school through the park. And I remember my mum and dad saying, right, you can't walk to the school anymore. You've got to get the bus. Having said that, they didn't take me, like parents do now. They take their children to school, don't they? That wasn't offered. It just wasn't something that you did then. You went to school with your friends, really, or on your own, and nobody really worried about what would happen to someone. But so I specifically remember that. Remember my mum saying, look, you can't walk through the park anymore. You've got to get the bus. This person is, because a couple of the Yorkshire Rippers' bodies were found very close to where we lived, literally just around the corner. So there's all, I think in most societies, most countries, there's probably a case that changed the way people thought about letting their children play out, etc. I think more often than not, children go missing, don't they? Sometimes even when they're close to home, don't they? It doesn't, it's not a guarantee of safety, of course. And anyway, so this apparently was a big thing in Australia that changed the way people thought about their children's freedom. And just over a decade later, it was a series of murders known as the family murders that was said to have stolen Adelaide's innocence. And this year, those murders were thrown into the spotlight once again with the death of convicted child killer Bevan Spencer von Einem. Now, I've never done a video about this. I probably will. It's something I'd never heard of, this guy. So apparently von Einem spent more than half his life in prison for the sexually motivated abduction and murder of 15-year-old boy Richard Kelvin, the son of former Adelaide 9 news presenter Rob Kelvin, in 1983. And here he is. So he apparently died in December, took secrets with him. He was also linked to the family murders that remained unsolved, which included Alan Barnes, 17. See, I don't know about these, so we need to look at this perhaps in the video. Neil Muir, 25. Peter Stogneff, 14. And Mark Langley, 18. That's a lot, isn't it? Who were brutally killed between 1979 and 1982. So in a 3-year period. 4 boys. But von Einem has taken any knowledge he had of what happened to those victims with him to the grave. When he announced von Einem's death earlier this month, Premier Peter Malinauskas said most unforgivably, von Einem refused to cooperate with the police despite having had every opportunity to do so. And you know what? You just think, it's like when these are, they're just such horrible people because, they've done what they've done. They can't bring these children back, but they can give some peace to the family just to let, most families, I imagine the most important thing is to just know what happened, where their loved one is so they can bring them home, give them a proper burial. And they don't, do they? They won't say, I hope this guy's burning in hell. He'll definitely be going in the hellhole. Because he could have redeemed himself a little bit by at least, giving the family some closure. And they don't do that, do they? It's like they're just vile. They're doubly vile. They're vile for what they do, and they're vile. I mean, if he was dying anyway, why couldn't he just release that information? Maybe get some, even if he doesn't want to do it for the family, for his own soul. But obviously, he probably doesn't believe in God anyway. So, well, he'll know now, won't he? Whatever the truth is, whether you do get, end up spinning in hell, he'll know now. But it's too late for him to redeem himself now. I expect there was a lot of, before he died, that they were probably begging him to give out some information. But anyway, so yeah, he refused to cooperate with the police despite having had every opportunity to do so. So yeah, there are a lot of evil people, unfortunately, in the world, but we have to remember there's a lot of good people as well, more good people. But unfortunately, these twonks spoil it for everyone, don't they? So he said his death does nothing to erase the murder and torture he inflicted on innocent lives, nor does it ease the anger and grief carried by the families of his victims, whose lives were shattered by his actions. The greatest tragedy is that they may never know the full truth because of his deliberate and selfish silence. South Australian police had been working exceptionally hard to get information out of von Einem right up until his death, and I think it's a great shame on him that he never sought to provide any peace to other victims' families in a way we know he potentially could have. It seems all hope of finding these answers ended in 2025. Then they go on to talk about another mystery, which is not to do with twonks. I'm going to look at that article about von Einem. I'm going to do, I will do a video about the Beaumont children and about von Einem. Now, this caught my attention as well. This is apparently another mystery from last year. It was in March that the ABC broke news of a mysterious brown foam washing up on Wake Pinga Beach, causing fish kills and surfers to fall ill. So a sea foam began washing up on SA's coastline in March. Now, this caught my attention because this happened in Spain. Just something went sort of strange about the sea. There was a lot of fish being washed up, dead. I think some terrible disaster happened, and they just don't tell us about it, do we? We don't get to know about everything, do we? I think there's a combination of things that it might be. I'm almost frightened to go in the sea now because I don't feel of it. It doesn't seem to be as clean as it used to be. God knows what's going on underneath the sea. And as I say, governments won't tell us. But this definitely happened in Spain. We had this sort of thing in Spain. I think it was last year. Yeah, just fish being found, just loads of dead fish. So obviously some sort of ecological calamity had happened. And it makes you wonder, you've got bloody Elon Musk, setting off all these rockets and what's going into the seas and how is it affecting coastlines and things like that. So anyway, caught my attention because it definitely happened in Spain as well. So little did we know at the time that an ecological disaster would unfold on our coast for months, with countless sea life killed, beaches closed, and multitudes of people falling sick from the algae bloom. We can't hide our head in the sand and pretend this is somehow a phenomenon. I can never say that word, phenomenon, that might have somehow happened without climate change. So she's the environment minister, is blaming it on climate change. I don't know about that. I think it might be more to rockets falling into the ocean and things. I don't know. Anyway, the algal bloom has cost both the state and federal governments millions of dollars, with a $102.5 million summer plan announced in October. And despite coastal tourism and hospitality vouchers, the sector has suffered from a significant downturn, with full impacts on summer still to come. Yeah, because they're just in the summer now in Australia. So apparently countless sea creatures, these are rays, aren't they? Stingrays, countless sea creatures have died during the algal bloom. And the effects on commercial and recreational fishers has been unfathomable. Just before Christmas, the death of sharks and stingrays along a regional South Australian beach were attributed to the algal bloom, but authorities are feeling cautiously optimistic about metropolitan beaches. And that cautious optimism, they're going to go on something positive now. That cautious optimism is not the only shining light of South Australia's year. So while the stories mentioned above ranked as some of the ABC's most read stories this year, there were also plenty of uplifting and hopeful stories too. There was one mystery. Oh, there's always a dog. There's always a dog. There's one mystery that was solved this year, and that was the case of Valerie, the missing sausage dog, who survived in the wild of Kangaroo Island for 529 days. And Valerie's adventure began when she escaped from her owners who were on holiday on the island. And what followed was an epic tale of a community's bid to reunite the beloved pooch with her owners. Let's have a look at that. It's nice to have a happy story. Oh, look at that. Oh, I'd love a dachshund. They're beautiful little dogs, aren't they? Beautiful. Let's watch the video. How did Valerie survive 529 days in the wild? Kangaroo Island says it all, really, doesn't it? When an island's called Kangaroo Island, you can assume that it's probably not, very hospitable for people. Oh, how sweet. How sweet. Just so sweet. So yeah, 450 days sightings of Valerie the Dachshund running wild on South Australia's rugged Kangaroo Island were like sightings of the Yeti, a good story but short on proof. And then the photograph appeared. She was just a speck in an open field, but those telltale sausage dog ears were flapping jauntily as she ran. And finally, it was clear Valerie was alive. And that sparked the search. Oh, look. Is this? Look. Once Valerie was spotted on the 450th day, a trap was set up and she was spotted several times, checking out the bedding and toys inside it, but not getting caught in the trap. Oh, look, she's taking bits out that she wants. Oh, God, I just love dogs. They're just the best, aren't they? Oh, look. Oh, my God. And so how a pampered, stubby-legged pooch that had never slept outside before survived a bitter winter, venomous snakes and swooping eagles is a story only Valerie can tell. But how an island... what did she drink? What did she eat? But how an island community pulled together to bring a little lost dog home to her doting owners is almost as valiant a tale as Valerie's epic adventure. Oh, and she's home now. And they say her owners, Georgia and Joshua, say she quickly settled back into domestic life. Little shit. Oh, so she went missing. She'd probably run off and then she just got lost and couldn't find her way back to the owners. But, oh my God, yeah. Yeah. They thought she'd just come back. Look. Oh my God, this beautiful little dog. It is so nice to have a happy ending to a story because... she was lucky she wasn't taken off by an eagle or something. And Valerie's owners admit she's very spoiled, calling their dog a princess. So she just felt like she wanted an adventure. So apparently the saga began on November the 13th, 2023, when the holidaying couple from Broken Hill, New South Wales, arrived at Stokes Bay. It was a glorious day, so they quickly set up camp and went for a swim, and 1-year-old Valerie came with them. She loved the beach, Georgia says. She loved the sand, especially loved digging holes. They decided to go fishing, but the area was rocky and they didn't want Valerie to hurt her feet. So they set her up in a playpen with a bed, a snuffle mat and toys, and set off to the fishing spot 200 meters away. But about 15 minutes later, a woman approached Valerie had escaped. Yeah, it probably wasn't the best idea, was it? Even though they thought she's obviously probably dug underneath the playpen. God, I couldn't leave any of my dogs somewhere like that. They would escape. You know, dogs are escape artists. And she'd probably gone off looking for them, bless her, and couldn't find them. So they thought she would just come back. So campers told them Valerie had run under their camper van, and a man went to retrieve her, but she freaked out and took off, with a motorist seeing her running into a property about 500 meters away. She was like a little jackrabbit, Joshua says, just bolting up this hill. Yeah. And the couple took chase looking for it. Now, it makes you wonder, oh, God, I just can't imagine how that must have felt. You know, God, looking for your dog like that and not knowing if you were going to find them and feeling guilty and all those things. It does make you wonder, had she been fed by somebody, and maybe somebody was feeding her and let her go when they saw all the outcry about it. How could she survive all that time anyway? Yeah. Anyway, she's been found. So that's a good story, isn't it? Thank God for that. It's nice to have some good stories. What else have we got? Positive things. What's this last one? The government's bold Whyalla move. Oh, that's about the steelworks. I won't read that because, the dog story is uplifting. But the most important story, of course, that we've been following and we're going to keep following into 2026, I don't think it's going to have the happy ending like Valerie, the sausage dog, unfortunately, unless somebody is keeping Gus somewhere and decides to let him go. I don't think it's going to have the same happy ending, unfortunately. But look, you know, we just have to hope that it's a possibility, I suppose. He could be being kept somewhere. Could he have been abducted? Trouble is, if not, which, you know, the law enforcement don't seem to think it's possible that he's been abducted. So if not, then he's going to be deceased somewhere. It's just, but where are they ever going to find him? Is this going to turn into another Beaumont children mystery? 60 years later, still don't know what happened to Gus. How awful. How is family coping? Do they know anything? And, you know, because, you know what, even if they know something, doesn't mean to say that they'll be having a great time or whatever. If something happened to Gus, either deliberately or accidentally within the family that the family know about, it still would be miserable for them. I just don't know how people get through each normal day, never mind getting through Christmas and New Year. They are difficult times when you've got a loss like this. You know, something like this going on there. It's bad every day, but it's even worse, isn't it? So many people celebrating. You know, it's like this awful tragedy in Switzerland, isn't it? On the you know, the sort of the New Year's celebrations. I think there's going to end up being quite a lot. I mean, there's already a lot of people declared dead, aren't there? Young people that were out celebrating the New Year, over 40, you know, close on 50 people died, young people died. And then, of course, many people very seriously injured. Fire is a horrible, horrible thing, isn't it? So, yeah, that's you know, that be remembered forever as a blight on New. So lots of people are out there celebrating New Year and things, but tragedies happen. And this is what we've been saying, you know, Christmas, New Year, all these big occasions, they don't respect tragedy. You know, it's not like, oh, nothing bad can happen at Christmas, nothing bad can happen at New Year. In fact, things often do, because things are heightened at these times. Family tragedies, people lose the plot, don't they? I mean, this attack in Switzerland, well, it's not an attack, this tragedy in Switzerland is not an attack. It's an accident. You know, young people with sparklers and fireworks and, you know, no escape, no proper fire exits, or they weren't open, or they were blocked, or, you know, all this. It's like all combines to make terrible, terrible tragedies, regardless of the time of year, isn't it? So, okay, so that's it. I just wanted to tell you what I was telling you about Gus, just to remind ourselves about what's going on with Gus. This I'm going to cover anytime there's any information about him. I mean, this will be a case that is captivating everybody. Of course, in Australia, it's a bit like, you know, the Jack and Lily case in Canada, or like the Madeleine McCann case, or anytime a little child goes missing like this in these mysterious circumstances. And very sadly, there have been quite a lot of them. Of course, it's a bit like the boy in the Spider-Man pajamas as well. That's never been resolved, though it's thought that his mum had something to do with that. But again, you know, it's not been proven, has it? It's very difficult to prove these cases. For me, my first question would be, when was Gus last seen by anyone other than the family? You know, so this March photo of him really the last time that he was ever seen? You know, surely the family have got more photos of him since then, even though they probably don't want to release them, which is fair enough. But surely they'll have more photos. You know, when kids are little like that, you do take a lot of photos of them, especially in this day and age where you've got phones and it's easy to take photos. You know, even with Jack and Lily, there are lots of Sullivan, there are lots of photos of them, regardless of what the circumstances of their home life were. So, yeah. Will we ever find out what happened to Gus or Jack and Lily, come to that matter, or any of the other missing children? So all we can do really is pray that there are some answers. You know, we can't do anything else. Keep their names alive, pray for them, pray for their families, hope that some sort of resolution comes. So thank you so much for caring about Gus. At least we had the good news about Valerie. I didn't know about that story about the little sausage dog. That was uplifting. It's nice to see an uplifting story, isn't it? You know, really is. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I've put my banner on it again. Thank you. Don't forget, please, to like, to subscribe. And if you want to support my channel further, you can buy a coffee, or you can become a member. And anyway, but anyway you help, just watching helps my channel. So thank you so much. Don't forget to press notifications so you get to hear of any new cases. I'll see you really soon in the next video, and until then, may your God go with you.